Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Career Vision webinar series. And today we have a very interesting topic as we bring more awareness to the young students and professionals about the industry, the diverse of professionals to empower the youth. Our speaker today is Deepthi Anantha Kumar. She is a Customer Success Director at a data-focused SaaS company based in Singapore. In her current role, Deepthi manages diverse client portfolios in the region and leads the team across customer success, customer support, data, and product enablement. Having graduated from Singapore's Nanyang Technological University with a master's degree in information studies, her career has included roles with Lazada, Alibaba, and WPP Group, where she has led data transformation projects for local and multinational clients. Welcome, Deepthi, and thank you for taking out time to speak with us today. Now I'll be handing over the stage to you.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Sonali. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And I'm really happy to be invited to do this. So I'll probably get started if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Great.
Go ahead.
So I'm assuming you can all see my screen. So today we're going to be talking about like women in tech, why to be one and how to be one. For as long as I can remember, my career has been throughout in the data industry. And so today we'll touch upon a little bit about, my struggles, what opportunities are there, and how all of you can essentially like leverage on, take a page from my book and progress in your careers. So I'll start off with this slide. Like essentially this sums up what we are trying to speak about today. All of you know who this is. This is Elon Musk. If I ask you the question, who is the female Elon Musk? Not much comes up, does it? The reality is, for in the past like 10 years, to imagine the possibility of having like a female Elon Musk, like you can't even picture that. When you think about like successful female leaders, like you'll think about, Michelle Obama or Oprah Winfrey. Where are our tech industry leaders? So I want to start off by literally introducing us or recollecting, our predecessors who like the pioneer female, tech leaders into, that introduced us into the world, right? So we've got Mary Barra. She's the CEO of General Motors. She's which is one of the biggest automotive companies in the world. She became the CEO in 2014. She's the first female CEO in over 100 years in the three big automakers, GM, Ford, and the other one I can't really pronounce it, but despite of being pioneers and despite of being like General Motors, recently she said in her interview, she said that General Motors wanted to go deeper into their growth strategy and financial opportunities and everything that drives General Motors, including software. So that's tech for you, hardware and services, along with the strong brand that they've created. There's so much investment going into tech. There's no industry without it. Safra Katz, she was appointed appointed CEO in September 2014. She's 59 years old and she has 2 kids. These are women who stay in the workforce. It's not getting in that's a challenge, right? It's staying in that's a challenge. Lisa Su, she's the CEO of Advanced Micro Devices. Again, October 2014. It seems like if one person does it, then the rest of them do it, and that is why what Aditya said previously, having that dialogue becomes like really key. So all of them kind of becoming CEOs in 2014. She has a PhD from MIT, and her net worth, Lisa Su's net worth, is like at least $380 million. She's also on the board of Cisco. We know Indra Nooyi. All of us should know Indra Nooyi, right? Born in Chennai, she went to Yale. She's on the board of Amazon since Feb 2019. So she stepped down after being CEO of PepsiCo for 12 years, and she was in the organization itself for about like 24 years. And she had humble beginnings, you guys. She's an inspiration. She's absolutely my role model, because she's a brown woman. She's born in Chennai, is married, has a mother-in-law, has duties of a daughter, has kids, and has a husband. And she's led the business. So, talk about having it all. That's a woman who's really gone for it. And she had humble beginnings. She started off as a product manager for Johnson's and Johnson's. And then she did some consulting for Boston Consulting Group. And like I said, she did over like 20 years at PepsiCo. Indra Nooyi has consistently been on the top 100 most influential women in the world. I was watching her interview recently, and she spoke about, now that she stepped down as a CEO, she's talking about what she was doing next. And she was talking about taking ballroom lessons, So but these women, led the way. They paved the way forward for what in the recent times looks like a massive explosion of female leaders. Wendy Clark. So in my previous company, I worked at Dentsu, and she's the first female agency group lead in the world. No other women has ever been like an agency group CEO. She's a mother of 4 kids. Technically, that means she was on and off breastfeeding for 10 years, but these women do it. Again, staying in the workforce. Rekha Menon, she was appointed as the chairperson of NASSCOM in April 2021, so for this year. And this, it was making her the first woman to this position in the association in their 30-year history, and Rekha is, she lives in Bangalore, so that's super inspirational for me. Julie Sweet. So all of these women, again, took on like super senior leadership positions, and all of them in the tech industries. Super inspirational. Julie Sweet has 2 daughters. She's the CEO of Accenture, she's the co-CEO actually. Pip Marlowe, wonderful lady. You should listen to her talk. She's the CEO of Salesforce and took on this role in August 2019. So what is my point? My point is we now have, there's hope to see that female Elon Musk, because culturally and from a society perspective, we're making room for it. If you thought about it for the last 10, 15 years, you'd be able to count these women on your fingertips. Now they're everywhere, not to mention the CEO of like YouTube. These female leaders are going places. So your businesses work better, if you have a balanced board and a balanced workforce. This is my way of encouraging all the people here to take on tech careers. What do I mean by that? Every industry here, like every company uses technology, so you're not limited by the roles. If you're not having an inclusive or diverse workforce, then everyone is thinking the same. If everyone is thinking the same, that means someone is not thinking. Diversity brings different perspective. Your customers are global, they're male, they're female, or they're gender neutral. They're of various age groups and like demographics. A balanced workforce, a diverse workforce is absolutely business critical. So, it's like in India, whenever we're starting like a puja, we usually like pray to Lord Ganesha first. For me, that's like when we're talking about women in tech. I always think about the pioneer leaders. And most recently, these women that I've actually had access to, paving the way forward for the rest of us, which hopefully I will be able to do for you today with my own story. So I have a twin sister, so that's me as a baby on the left, along with my my twin sister Divya. So going from that to where I am today, I want to talk about that journey a little bit. The reason I want to talk about that journey is through the pandemic and through so much women at tech initiatives, the society is getting better. It's a great time to be a woman. So there are some struggles that are societal, and there are some struggles that are our own. Um, and so maybe sharing my story will help you with both of that today. So my family is traditionally patriarchal, but I was brought up to be a woman of opinion. So if you have one, you share it, So I was kind of feisty that way, and I believed, I always fought for what I believed in. I have a strong mother, so it's probably something to do with that. So I've been in data and tech industry for all my career. I started in my university. I started with research and analytics courses. I got into marketing analytics, and then I did hardcore implementation. So I learned to code, web development. I did Adobe and Google Analytics implementation. I then started selling data solutions. I learned SQL and did data engineering pipelines. To now, I lead the customer success department at a data SaaS company. The highlight of my career was when I was at Alibaba. This was, in November 2017. I was there for 11/11 with Daniel Zhang, in the room, in the secret room. I traveled to China, and I brought back that tech to Lazada, to Southeast Asia, trained 2,000 people. It was a great time, in my career. Lots of traveling. It was very hectic. But that experience, that drive, resulted in a double promotion from that experience. And mind you, I'm a vegetarian. So that was that wasn't particularly easy. So long story short, today I lead like a team of 13 people. So I'm a people leader, as well as in the tech business. So that means something. Like Sonia said, I have the customer success department, the support, the data team, and product enablement folks that report into me. The journey hasn't been the most straightforward or easy. I've had to make some sacrifices along the way, but I'm happy where I am today. I was just telling Aditya, I'm 30. I have chosen to put my career in front of me. I live in Singapore, where it's extremely safe for women. I feel strong, beautiful, independent. I'm absolutely grateful for the love and support from my family. Tech careers. So when I got into my tech career, I'm a Bangalorean. So I'm an engineer by training, right? I'm an electronics and communications person by engineering. I studied antennas and waveguides, and ending up in the data industry means my career chose me. And I've made the best of every situation. When I started off in university, I was just new for in here in Singapore. I was just away from home. So, the first couple of semesters, my grades fell through, but I made up for it and came at the top 10% of my cohort. And mind you, everyone, no matter what careers you're in, your essentially your grade or your education will be on your resume forever. So I think make that count. So I want to touch upon this conversation about climbing up the ladder, staying there, and what responsibilities come with it. So I have worked for an overall of, this is my 5th year in my career. So I've had tremendous growth, and I'm very, very grateful for my mentors and for all the support that I've received to kind of have that growth. So where does that growth come from? Essentially, it's pure drive and hunger, you guys. You want to have to make a difference, it's not necessary that you have to be great at school, but it's about having that willingness to make that difference. Especially as women in tech, you have to fight a lot of biases. You have to fight a lot more. You have to be, the expectation levels are different. But you will meet it, if you just have that hunger. staying on that ladder, or like, progressing further, comes with taking on responsibilities and generating impact for your teams, in your tech careers. That means supporting your managers better, writing, like better code, solving absolute business problems, um, making that business impact. The responsibilities that come with it are huge, because essentially, for tech leaders who have just showed, like Wendy Clark, for example, leads a company of like globally they have like 65,000 employees. You're a people manager. You essentially have control over your team's 9 to 5. So you can either make it really meaningful for them, or you can make it living hell. All of us know about like terrible managers. So climbing up your ladders in your tech careers comes with its own challenges, but I've done it. I've done it in 5 years, and I'm now a director. And if I could do it, and I had like I did antennas and waveguides, so if I could do it, it means you certainly are able to do it. Now let's touch upon why be a woman in tech, and we'll talk about the more nitty-gritties of the actual challenges that you would face in the current be it pandemic world, or the way we're brought up in the current situation, how to navigate those. So why be a woman in tech? Okay, well, the roles in tech are so diverse. There's so many. I want to clarify by saying that it's not limited to women who code, but of course they form like an absolute huge portion of it. You even have like technology, like in agriculture, in gaming industries, in retail, like we've got, there's so much innovation happening. So it's a great time to be a part of that innovation. Women in tech, like the people that I see who I'm hiring, are extremely well educated, they're experienced, they're driven, they're more capable. You're able to work remotely. They're more independent. You're noticeably more involved in the business than our mother's generation or our grandmother's generation, right? And tech industry pays well. It seems like it's a massive skill set to achieve, but really what you're doing is solving problems. So why be a woman in tech? I think it's going to be the norm. I think there is going to be no business that survives without technology. So having some understanding of data, having some understanding of, how your e-commerce works, or how your marketing works, is going to be of extreme importance. Like I was telling Aditya recently that we've had 40-something-year-old interns apply, interview, and succeed. Sometimes for roles across the industry, changing their career paths. These women have had great experience in their other industries. There's problem solvers. All they need to have is like technical skill set. So if you have the right attitude, then be it a software developer, or like a business analyst, or product manager, UX designer, like a data engineer, like there's no role that can be restricting. Well, another reason is why be women in tech is it's just a great time. What I've seen on LinkedIn, which I strongly encourage you all to explore as well, is that remote working is becoming the norm, which means you're not limited by your office space. You're not required to go for your like 9 to 5 culture. I was again watching this great interview by Indra Nui, and she was talking about how like this 9 to 5 culture was predominantly invented for men. Now you're not limited. Mothers are not limited, young or older mothers, or you're not limited by what you can do. And for for the mature women in our audience or watching this today, kids leave, right? So having a professional identity is always a good thing. Learning a new skill set keeps you young. Staying in the workforce is great. you know um, there's more on that from Sheryl Sandberg that I will share with you softly. So why be a woman in tech is pretty straightforward. It's going to be the norm. You will have technology as a part of your career, be it customer support. Like when my customer support team is resolving issues, they're doing it from the platform perspective. Um, it's your careers will revolve around tech. But there are some major challenges that women face, and these are some of the challenges that I have faced. And personally. So I wanted to bring that anecdotal experience today. Okay. Uh, of course, there are, like from an industry standpoint, of course, India has like a lot more difficulty, for women. Like the first thing that I actually haven't mentioned here is the reality is, about safety, having that workplace safety that's of paramount importance. But when you're outside of that, when you're in the workforce itself, like I said, it's not getting into the workforce that is a challenge, because you're interviewed, you get hired, you either don't negotiate for your pay or something but you get into the company. That's okay. But how do you climb up the ladder? And this is not limited to women in tech particularly. This is just the issue with women. In the future slides, I'll show more statistics of what other women have said are particularly the problem in the tech industry. But anecdotally, this is something I have experienced in my career. We talk about it, about mansplaining or being talked over. Usually when I'm in the meetings, when I'm with my, male counterparts who are senior stakeholders, being taken seriously is an issue. You get talked over, you're not noticed. Every woman who heard Vice President Kamala Harris, say to Mike Pence, I'm speaking, when he talked over her in the vice presidential debate will understand that frustration. And so I want to encourage the women out there today. If you have someone who's not letting you finish what you're saying, make a small deal of small things. Okay, otherwise you'll have to make a big deal of it. It'll escalate. You don't want to leave the company. You like the work. You need the money. We know it. So women need to learn to make a small deal of small things. My mentor gave me a great advice. Being professional is the best thing you can do. I'd love to throw some statistics out at you guys, right? But this is what's gotten me it's rocketed my career, right? Being absolutely intelligent and professional. My mentor gave this advice. He said some stakeholders have so much, they have so much going on, and with Indian stakeholders it can be so political. So learn to be bright, know what outcome you want, be brief, say this is what you want, present your case, and make yourself scarce, be gone. So be bright, brief, and then gone. It's professional 101. With some of my other mentors, they talk about maintaining eye contact, be straight, don't let people talk over you. If they do, hold them accountable to it. The second thing that I've faced in my recent career is becoming a bunny in the headlights, right? I want to talk about this because this is the reason women struggle to progress in their careers. When your managers, be it male or female, when they're shouting or when they're short with you, when they're firm with you, it's easy to become a bunny in front of a headlight. If the car's coming and then there's a rabbit, it just freezes and you can basically get run over. That syndrome is not okay. So it's often that, people managers or directors, or they will shout. You can hear some managers shouting and swearing. That is okay. That's just they have crazy financial pressures, understandable. But what is not okay is if it's directed to the individual. So make a small deal of small things, call people out, say that's not a good way to treat her. Or if they're doing it with you, say it seems like you're very upset at the moment, or you're not able to explain it to me in a way that I can understand. So why don't we regroup at a later time? So give yourself the distance. Being left out or being a minority. I remember when I joined Lazada's data team, I was the only girl. It was a team of, I think, 16 to 17 boys at that time, right? And I was literally the only girl. I don't think it ever occurred to them that I was such a minority, but it always occurred to me. So that is an unconscious bias. The reality is it shouldn't matter. If the boy is the only boy in the team, like, it's no different, right? So why should being a girl only in the team matter? But if it goes back, so this goes back to having diversity. I know Aditya mentioned that there were some initiatives that some companies have come up with to increase that diversity, and I'm sure he'd be happy to share that with all of you later. But what we want to build is, we want to have a dialogue about gender inclusivity. Be bold, ladies. I mean, and I'll talk about why be bold as well, right? But it shouldn't matter. I know it does. It shouldn't. Okay. I've had, coming to the next point, sexist comment and inappropriate behavior at work, inappropriate comments. When things like that happen, report it to the HR. Why leave your role? It's a great time to be a woman. It's a great time to be an advocate for women, like how Training Vision has got me here to advocate for the rest of you. It's a fabulous time. Take up space. Inappropriate behavior, report it. Especially now, if you report it, it will be taken absolutely seriously. I remember in one of my past companies, I experienced inappropriate behavior from a colleague, and I couldn't carry out my work. The kind of pressure, or the kind of comments that they made, when they make your job untenable, it got escalated to the HR, which eventually led to the person leaving the company. So you have the power, exercise it. Work or family. Now, this is a big one. I think for all the ones on the top, like, younger women are able to face it easily, more often than not lately, and get through that. When it comes to choosing this work or family, again, thanks to Aditya for sharing these resources, but in a poll of 468 working moms that was done by New York Times, they found that 16% of the moms, they did not pursue a promotion. 23% didn't apply for any new roles, and 28% turned down any new work responsibilities. 33%, they clocked fewer hours, and 20% of the women went part-time. I'm actually quite happy that these numbers are in the 30% range. In 2010 studies, when Sheryl Sandberg was giving her first TED talk, these numbers were way high, in the 50-60% ranges. Now, I want to say that this pandemic has been somewhat of a blessing to mothers. My sister, my twin sister, had a baby during this 2 years, and the baby is lovely 1 year old now, and she's home more. She's able to get her responsibilities as a mother done whilst having a job, whilst having a professional identity as well. So I think it's a great, and some of my clients that I speak to on a daily basis, they have their babies screaming, but they're so much more happier because they're able to be moms. So Pandemic has made remote working possible, and I would strongly encourage you to look for those roles on LinkedIn. If you feel like your current company is limiting somewhat, claim your power, ladies. Do it. So there are inequalities, okay? So what is an inequality in a workplace? For me, they're of threefold. There's your gender pay gap. This is a big one. And that's why this slide is a little bit verbose, because I want to make it a point. And not having equal opportunities or not being treated fairly, you know. With the gender pay gap, so let's go straight into it, right? It costs money to hire people. If you pay people fairly, it's my cat. Hi. If you pay people, do you want to come up? So it costs money to hire people, right? Let's take the churn in the tech industry in India. I know in Bangalore this is upwards of 30%, which means your 30% of your employees are moving every year, and they're moving for money, predominantly. You're better off having a stable and a secure workforce. If you pay people fairly, they will stay longer. But women are not paid fairly, and in India there's like a very, very good reason why. And that's here, right? That's your survey monkey. The survey that was done by monster.com. So let's get into it. Let's take a moment to look into this a little bit deeper, and for everyone in the audience, take points away and educate your sisters, your aunts, your mothers, your colleagues, and have a dialogue about it. So a survey by monster.com reported that nearly 60% of working women in India face discrimination at work, or over a third of women believe that they're not easily considered for top management roles, right? And that's a survey, so that's how they're feeling, right? Out of the women who were surveyed, nearly 86% of the women consider safety as a factor while choosing a job, and nearly 50% of them find the night shift unsafe or unpreferable. This is huge. It's not about whether it is or not. It's about, can we create an environment, that is that nurtures growth, safety, and allows women to take these leadership roles, or just consider it for top management. So these problematic factors, they lead to fall in numbers. So not enough women join the workforce in the first place in every sector. And consequently, it results in gender wage gap between men and women. So according to Monster Salary Index, this gender pay gap, it widens with the years of experience. While the pay gap in these initial years is moderate, it rises significantly. So this is huge, right? So how can we tackle this? How can we create a safer environment? And in that forms, for me personally, the pandemic has been a little bit of it's given a little bit of respite. It's allowing women globally, and I know this because of my network. It's just global. It's allowed women everywhere to look for jobs everywhere else. So why should women in India be given any less opportunity? So it is there. Ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, right? And so there's this great quote by United Nations, so like, unequal status at work, it feeds inequality in other areas of women's life. And if you all didn't know, there's an International Equal Pay Day that happens on September 18th every year. Now, why am I sharing this with you? Gender pay gap is important. So for the men in listening to this talk today, use this as an opportunity to create dialogue with your colleagues or with your HR representatives. For the females, for the women in the audience, celebrate an International Equal Pay Day in your workforce. In my previous role, the companies were held accountable to produce a pay parity report. That is something great. We had initiatives. You're a women at, Dentsu, women at Lazada, women at Alibaba. Like, form your sisterhood, and hold your companies accountable to produce pay parity reports, and then hold your leadership teams accountable for this fair pay across these roles. You're not limited in this day and age. You're not limited to a specific role in a specific company. The opportunities that we have, our mothers or our grandmothers didn't have, but our mothers today have the opportunity should they want to pursue it. So I've left links here, and I'm happy to share these resources across for you all to consider. So I was talking about this study that was done. It's called the Women in Tech Survey. It was done in 2019 by this company called Ivanti. It was showcasing the experiences of more than 500 women, working in technology around the world. So we look at two slides here, not only what attracts women into tech industries in the first place, but also, so in addition to what I've said, we've got the stats, but also how things have changed in the past year. Okay, so 2018, 63% of the women stated that it's an issue, that, being taken seriously due to, gender perceptions. That was an issue. But 53% of women said that in 2019. So there's a 14% decrease. Okay, so from 2018 to 2019, that is a shift. Across the border, you can see, be it gender pay gap, or having no female role models, like the societal levers have reduced. So this is why I can confidently say that it's a great time to be a woman, right? The second largest challenge that women face in tech industry was the conservative career perspective, as a part-time employee. So if you're going to be a part-time person, then somehow that's you're not good enough. Again, biases. It has seen the biggest decrease of 32% from 2018 to 2019. So I wish I could get the most recent stats, but of course, the pandemic has been a bit of a problem, I think, running these studies. But the only thing that's kind of gone up is, is this glass ceiling feeling. And what is this glass ceiling? It's social barriers that women perceive are preventing them from being promoted in top jobs within the management. So we'll touch upon that a little bit more on how we can get rid of that. But like I said, these challenges are twofold in tech. One is the societal factors themselves, and one is how, ladies, you conduct yourself, or how bold and brave you are in progressing and shattering your glass ceilings. What will keep our women in the roles, right? What would attract you more to this new role? This study, they said equal pay and benefits. Now, how do you know it's an equal pay and benefit? You have to find out. So you have to have that conversation with your HR. Do not be shy about it. It's a norm, especially if you work for big companies. Then it's a great initiative to pull through fellow colleagues, or ask your HR about anything that is already there. Put it on the agenda of your meetings with your managers. Hold your leadership accountable. Clear and well documented progression opportunities. So if you have male managers or even female managers that are not being clear with you on this, you be proactive. Create a well-documented progression opportunity. Say, is this okay? Or do you have something else in mind for me? Flexible working policies. Like I said, this whole 9-to-5 culture was predominantly existing for the men. As women took on more roles, motherhood, in India, we are dutiful daughters, we're dutiful daughter-in-laws. A traditional 9-to-5 role is not fitting. It's it doesn't make sense until our partners are our real partners, and we'll touch upon that shortly as well. But like flexible working policies is important, and now because of the pandemic, you don't have a 9 a.m. to go somewhere. You have proven, at least by now, like in the fourth or fifth lockdown across the globe, that you can produce quality work, without being restricted to an office space, which is great. An all-inclusive work culture, so it's a gender inclusive work culture. There isn't excessive promotion specifically for women. There are equal opportunities, and everybody, not just women, are treated fairly. Now that is a bias, so we have to be conscious about something like that. And something that helps bring that consciousness is your mentorship programs for women. So in my past companies where I've had like a women at Dentsu or women at like Lazada, for example, and you can pioneer these groups if they're not there. Pull a bunch of your senior female colleagues, get your new joiners in, and form these groups, and bring in, with the help of your networks, find people on LinkedIn, YouTube, TED Talks, bring mentors into your workspace, virtual or physical, to mentor and re-raise yourself, ladies. I always say, if you feel you've been raised wrong, you can always raise yourself again, and no opportunity better than right now. I'll clarify that. Of the two types of challenges that I just spoke to you about, we've got the challenges that are societal, and then we have these challenges that we self-impose. So we sell ourselves short. Women don't ask for sufficient promotions. You don't ask for a project. Like in a study, they found only 17% of the women initiated salary negotiations for their first job. It's crazy. Whereas like 70% of the men would negotiate their salary. We somehow think that we don't deserve it, which is crazy. So we propagate the gender wage pay gap. Personally, I know from some of my colleagues that sometimes they don't raise their hand, they don't take leadership roles, because they're thinking about, I'm a manager, she's a manager, and he's a manager. If I am active, or if I put my hand up too much, what are my peers going to think? Let me tell you something, guys. Your peers don't pay for your mortgage, so don't be sensitive. Raise your hand, take up responsibility, go for it, go for the opportunity. Sometimes we're too humble, we're not assertive enough, and we don't think we're smart enough. These are challenges that we self-impose. It's self-sabotaging. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is the glass ceiling. And why is this the glass ceiling for me? So I tried to, I really thought I should put some stats in here, but I want to be anecdotal about it. I want to be authentic about this. The reality is, our mothers and grandmothers, they did not have access to self-help except for in books. And reading books required formal education, the ability to read. They couldn't, like, they had pagers, they couldn't just call a friend, they didn't have access. People like you and me today, in this day and age, we have at our fingertips YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, hashtag, you just look for a hashtag of self-care, self-love, or wealth, or female billionaire mindset, etc. The amount of resources that you get, it's insane. You have Google, you even have Google Home, you have Netflix, you have new age drama that where you can learn from. So we can choose to raise ourselves differently to how we were brought up, or improve upon it. As women, we have no excuses today not to live our authentic lives. Now, I know for India, in India, like that like the patriarchy, or it presents some challenges. um but there are so many platforms, micro loans, universities providing um loans for education. uh, the power is there. Recently people started making video resumes on TikTok, to get into companies, and big companies started accepting video resumes on TikTok. We're not our mothers or grandmothers. We can change our careers. We can take up a career in tech. um, and India has brilliant, brilliant opportunities. So for me, the time is absolutely now. So if you can't do anything, do just what Sheryl Sandberg says. And ladies, this is especially for you. Have a seat at the table. Nobody gets the corner office by not sitting at the table. If you have an important meeting, if you have an important presentation, or if someone else important is presenting, have a seat at the table, have an opinion, and invite your colleagues. Like how, like typically we tend to sit around the room, we don't sit at the table. Don't do that. You are not going to stay in your workforce if you don't have a seat at the table. For the mature women, for women who are married and have kids, make your partner a real partner, not just in your professional life, but in your work life. Well, like Sheryl Sandberg used to say, that studies have showed that families that have equal earning capacity stay together longer. There's like lower divorce rates. Be equals in your relationship. For governments have to start working on paternity leave packages, allowing the couples to decide who wants to take time to look after the kids. But make your partner your real partner. It's 21st century. We don't have an excuse, and if we do, we need to have a dialogue. We need to speak up about it. And don't leave before you leave, right? Which is, if women have to, so if you have to come back to work after you've had a baby, that job better be really worth it. So you have to have a real reason for getting out of it and coming back to work, and that is challenging. So don't lean back from that project, from that promotion. If you let a colleague that take it from you, then you don't have anything to come back to. You are bored, and your identity is completely rooted in just your personal life. And for women in India, that poses so many difficulties from a financial perspective, so many things. So don't leave before you actually leave. So if you don't do anything, do these three. Do what Sheryl says. Have a seat at the table. Make your partner a real partner. Don't leave before you leave. And things are shifting. This is a Women in Tech Awards, IT Awards, and they actually have a Male Ally of the Year. This is given to a senior male figure who's gone out of his way to improve the diversity level for women in IT within the organization or in a wider community. Successful nominations have case studies, example how they've gone out of their way to do this. And I really like that I was able to see such a healthy representation of Indians on the list, and of some really big companies. This shows you that people in Microsoft, in Citi, in Amazon, in HSBC, like these people are actually, and across the world, right? So that's Singapore, there's like Sri Lanka here. These people are actually being nominated. Those companies are better places to work in. So do your research, ladies. and choose better roles, choose better jobs. Um, no one's paying your mortgage but you, so might as well make it worth it. For the men, to support equality, firstly, so I've taken this again from Sheryl Sandberg's like lean in, make this workplace safe for women. Find a way to do it. Women talk about having a safe workspace. Make it a dialogue. Make your voice be heard. For the men, challenge the likability, penalty. So when a man is successful, his peers often like him. When a woman is successful, like both men and women often like her less. Or she's too assertive. She's a little bit too bossy. But if a man's successful, then he's always appreciated, for that. So challenge this. If your female colleague is professional and assertive, appreciate her for it. The next thing that we can do is evaluate performance fairly. So make sure that there's no gender bias. Just because that one person in your team is extremely charming, he dresses well, that doesn't mean that person is, it doesn't mean that that person is credible enough. So be conscious of your gender biases, your affirmation biases, your other unconscious biases, your halo effects, for example. There are so many. So absolutely look up unconscious biases and be wary of it. So evaluate performance fairly. Give women credit where credit is due. Make sure that it's when they've done good work, call them out on it. Say that was fabulous, and do it in a circle of influence where people can actually hear it. Don't make it a side conversation, or get into their like chats and tell it to them. Make that appreciation in front of the manager, in front of your decision makers. Stand up for them. Get the most out of the meetings. So usually, compared to women, men tend to talk more and make more suggestions in the meetings. Women are like I said, they get spoken over, they get interrupted more, they are given like less credits. So ladies, remember to keep your hand up. If they haven't heard you, like make sure that they do listen to you again. Share your office housework. We touched upon it. Make work for parents. So certainly avoid telling moms, I don't know how you do it. It can signal that like mothers should be more at home. It's completely normal. Like literally the whole world does it right now. The roles have to be equal. So make work for parents. Studies have also shown that fathers receive like a lower performance rating and experience like steeper reductions in future earnings when they take time away from work for family reasons. So we have to make this we have to make work for parents. Mentor women and offer equal access. A great resource for anybody here is WEI Suite. So they have exceptional mentors for women, and typically women tend to like receive this less high quality mentorship that accelerates their career. So like for the men, find at least one female leader mentor, and for all the females, have at least one, and ideally multiple mentors, and a diverse version of them across the globe is ideal. Some from the States, some from Southeast Asia, some from APAC, some from Australia. Write into people's like find their LinkedIn, message them, and be persistent, and you will, like, so they say, right, shake a lot of coconut trees, and some coconuts will fall down. So find yourself mentors. So that was about it for me today. I know I've gone on for like quite a bit, and I know this was like an anecdotal way of talking about retaining women in the workforce, in the tech careers. I'll open up the floors to the questions, Sonali, if there's any.
Yeah, hello. It was a very insightful talk.
Thank you.
Can you see? Because as an active person in like working for my college, multiple clubs and programs, I've faced these problems too. And now I've heard your tips. Now I can like vouch better for myself and stand for myself.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just
Yeah,
remember, if you don't know the answer, Google it. If you don't know what
yeah,
Google has the answer. If you think your
correct.
boss is being bossy, Google has the answer. Leverage on it, because my grandmother couldn't, right? And she was an extremely talented, but we do now.
Very true.
And the women, um, so use the tech to promote your work in tech, essentially.
Yeah. So we have one question. It says how to avoid gender bias. Like in some organizations, men don't like taking orders from female bosses, like, due to peer pressure or other reasons. What do you do about that?
So I think, so number one, do not take it personally. Remember it's professional one-on-one. So the good thing that you can do is, do not escalate the situation. So if they don't like taking orders from you, don't let it uh, demean your sense of self or your work. Continue to power through. Remember that what they do has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them, their upbringing. So it has nothing to do with who you are. So continue and power through. And if they repeat it, then make a record of it. If you have 3 recorded incidents in a short space of time, then take that record and go to your HR and your manager and say, here's what I've been experiencing. Also, a good thing to do would be, so if this is happening with your manager, then always know the points of escalation, safe escalation. So if you can't talk to your manager about it, then you will need to be able to speak to someone else about it. Who is that person? Always identify that person, and avoid gossip. Don't
Correct.
proliferate this. But document it. If this person is doing it repeatedly, document it and take it to your HR. That way you are creating a process. If there isn't a process, then you're asking for it. And if it's happened to you, it's not your responsibility. But if it happens to another woman, that's your responsibility, because you could have put a process in place that helped those women. So
Very true.
yeah, so you have to set it up. Yeah.
Yeah. We also have one more question. Can you provide us tips and mental models that would have worked for you in navigating your own learning and career?
Okay. Yeah. So I got great advice from one of my mentors. So don't take the job for where it's getting you. Take it for where it's getting you next. So don't jump at the first opportunity. This is something that's absolutely helped me. So if I want to grow in my career, I won't take the job for what it is. It has to bring me something else. So think 2 steps like ahead. Another model that has worked for me is, in my first 90 days of my work. So there's a great book called your first 90 days. So it's a great read for anyone who wants to read it. Spend the first 30 days really understanding your business. And what do I mean by that? All of us, so I talk about this quite a bit. You don't wake up and think, oh, I'm going to be a data analytics manager. You don't wake up and think, oh, I'm going to be a customer success director. Your dreams are usually, I'll be a poet, I'll be a writer, I'll be a singer, I'll be this sports person. But we end up in these roles. Where I'm a data analyst, or like a product manager, or a UX designer, or a senior director of like something. Not really like what we do. So it's really, really important to have mentors along the way. It's really important to have the right questions along the way. So find people who will help you in your journey. So that's apart from like taking thinking 2 steps ahead of the game. one other thing that's really helped me is like to talk to people and be like, okay, this is the challenge in my career.
Mhm.
I don't have the answer, and I don't want to listen to Google right now because I'd rather talk to like a person. So so that's something that's absolutely really helped me.
Okay. So I guess that's it. We'll go to the enable slide. Let me present my screen.
So should I stop sharing? Let me stop sharing.
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
I can.
Yeah. So this is enabled by Training Vision Global Education. So it will be launching on 7th of September 2021, and book your seats now. So it is for mainly for UG and PG students and young professionals seeking to advise and shift careers. There are 9 modules here. This will be the assessment. The learning outcomes will be like personal excellence, relational excellence, performance excellence, stewardship excellence. And then the assistance would be like international placements for top students, CV review and interview coaching, placement assistance with local placement partners, local and global network of learners and industry leaders. The psychometric assessments, the ENCODE, it is a highly valid and robust personality assessment designed to assess for workspace behavior and competencies related to 21st century workspaces, managing others, managing tasks, and managing self, all these aspects. This is the timeline. You have to like register the live sessions, self-paced learning, competency 360, job placements, and etc. So it will be available from, it's a 5-day weekend intensive program from 7th September to 11th September. The participants will get an international certification career readiness. It will be of 30 hours of live training plus 30 hours of e-learning, personalized career readiness profiling, placement and placement assistance. So these are the links one can relate to.
Great, Sonali. Thank you for having me.